This is a product overview video for the 6-11332 Santa Fe Legacy 484 Northern, cab number 3751. This engine is also available as product number 6-11333, which is also a Santa Fe Legacy 484 Northern, cab number 3759. In the package you will receive the instruction manual for loading the engine module into your remote, the instruction manual, 2 replacement traction tires, the wrench for removing the side rod screw to install the traction tires, an O-gauge dummy coupler and the shoulder screw for mounting it on the pilot. This is to allow you to conduct multiple unit operations with this locomotive. A smoke fluid funnel, smoke fluid pipette, 2 optional smokestacks for the boiler of the locomotive. We have the vented version and the raised collapsible stack version in the raised position, and finally the engine memory module. This locomotive features a front headlight, a rear headlight, lighted number boards, a die-cast boiler, die-cast frame, die-cast pilot truck and trailing truck, die-cast tender shell, stamped metal tender frame with die-cast tender trucks. It also has the new smaller IR transmitter between the engine and tender drawbar. This locomotive has smoke out of the main stack, as well as whistle steam effect. Anytime the whistle is activated and the auxiliary smokestack switch is in the on position, you'll get smoke out of the whistle. These engines are at your dealer now. I'd like to point out where our switches are located on this locomotive. Switches are accessed from the top of the locomotive underneath the steam dome. The cover is held on with 2 magnets on this metal plate. Magnets are here. We have the program run switch, program to program the ID number, run to operate the locomotive. In a conventional environment, program is used for the direction lockout control and run is used to access all 3 directional states. We have the Odyssey on-off switch. In the ODY position, the speed control is enabled. In the no ODY position, it is disabled. We have the main smoke, which is the stack smoke, on and off. And we have auxiliary smoke, which is the smoke unit that powers the whistle, and that is on and off as well. Go ahead and replace the cover. It's important to note that the smoke fluid on this locomotive goes in the main stack for the stack smoke, and underneath this steam dome here we have another fluid hole here for the whistle smoke. This cap has a small locking tab here, or alignment tab, and a magnet that holds it on there securely. The tender has a manual volume control accessed underneath the rearmost water hatch. The hatches are split, so you have to open them one at a time, and your manual volume control is right here. Before we get our new Santa Fe Northern on the track, we want to make sure that we tell our Legacy remote exactly what our locomotive is. So we have a Santa Fe Northern, cab number 3751. So using our numbering convention, we're going to press engine 51. I'm using the last 2 digits of the cab number for the engine ID. So now that we've pressed engine 51, we want to press the info key in the upper right hand corner and insert our orange memory module with the silver circle L facing up. It tells us the module is inserted. It's a Santa Fe 11332 484 number 3751. Load engine data. We press the key under yes. It tells us the engine data is loaded, and remove the module to continue. So now what this has done for us is it's already assigned our name. By pressing the scroll button in the upper left hand corner, we can see that it's told us that this type is steam. Scroll again is set our control to Lionel Legacy. and scroll again has set our sound to legacy rail sounds. We can exit this menu by pressing Info again. 3751 pops up momentarily. The name at the top of the remote says AT&SF 484. Couple important things to note. It has set up our touchpad with the icon specific to this locomotive. We have volume up, crew talk, air let off, volume down. When the circle is displayed, that's shutdown. As you give it engine throttle, it changes to a triangle, and that's emergency stop. Steam blowdown, tower calm, smoke off, smoke on, front marker lights on, front marker lights off, engine reset, Rule 17 lighting on, and Rule 17 lighting off. We press the speed bar. We have our preset engine railroad speeds, tower calm, smoke off, smoke on, our bar graph that tells us the intensity of the chuffing. We press the EFX or effects button up, and that bar graph raises. It also displays labor increase on the top of the screen. We press FX down, and that lowers our laboring. This will directly affect the sound that the chuffing makes. And the number one is roll speed, or the very first speed step available in this locomotive. To exit this screen, we simply press aux 1. You'll notice that tower calm and crew talk are shaded. I press any one of those. Once that plays on the locomotive, they become unshaded. This will give me two unique sets of tower calm and crew talk sound dialogue with this locomotive. Let's go ahead and get the engine oiled up on the track and give it a run through. Before we put the engine on the track, we want to make sure that we pre-lubricate it. To lubricate this locomotive, we have a small oiler with a needle applicator, and we want to put a small dab of oil on the pilot truck axle where it goes through the pilot truck casting on each side. We'll put a dab of oil on the axle for the collectors. This will prevent these from squeaking down the road. Want to make sure we put a small drop of oil on the axles where they go through the bearings in the frame. And we want to do all 4 axles. Just a small drop of oil is all that's necessary. I'm going to do the same for this side. We can go ahead and get the axle where the ground strap is. We also want to make sure we oil the side rod screws where they go through the side rod, and also the eccentric crank. Just a couple dabs of oil on either side of that spacer. Make sure we get all the side rod screws, and again, same thing on the other side. Go ahead and work that oil in. This has a non-locking gearbox, which means that you can turn it when it's not on the track. Gearbox will rotate freely. Work that oil in. For our tender, we want to do something similar. Again, putting just a small dab of oil on the end of the axles where the axles go into the bronze bearings in the side frames, and also make sure we get the axle for the collector. Go ahead and work that in. Do the same for all the axle ends where they go into the bearings. Now that we've loaded the module into our remote, and we have told our remote that this Santa Fe Northern is engine 51, we now need to tell the locomotive to respond to engine 51. To do this, we're going to remove the steam dome cover from the boiler to access the switches. I want to place the locomotive in program. Apply track power. When we first apply power, you'll notice the marker lights, the headlight, the cab light, nothing is illuminated other than the number board lights up here on the top of the boiler. This is normal. So using our cab 2 remote, or cab 1, we're going to press engine 5-1 and the set button. The whistle sounds to confirm that it's taken the command. So now all we have to do is place the engine back in the run position. We'll go ahead and turn off our track power so that we can add smoke fluid to both holes in the boiler. To do this, we're going to use the smoke fluid pipette that came with the locomotive. We're going to go ahead and remove the steam dome cover for the auxiliary smoke unit. We're going to take our smoke fluid pipette and we're going to put smoke from the bottom of the pipette roughly to about 3/4 of the way to the first line. You can take the stack off the unit so that you can put this pipette all the way through that brass casting in the smoke unit and insert the smoke fluid. A couple extra puffs to make sure that the fluid isn't blocking the hole. You want to do the same exercise for the rearmost smoke unit or the auxiliary smoke unit. About 3/4 of the way to the first line. And put that down in the hole. Squeeze it in with a couple extra puffs to block any meniscus from forming under the stack. We can go ahead and replace the main stack on the front. We can replace the steam dome cover over the secondary hole. You want to make sure that you line that locking tab up or alignment tab up with the hole, otherwise it will not seat properly. We can go ahead and replace the steam dome cover and get our locomotive underway. So now we're going to reapply track power. Again, the only thing that comes on at initial power up are the number board lamps up on the top of the boiler. Marker lights and headlights and cab light are off. All you have to do to start the locomotive up is address engine 5-1 on your cab. If you want the dialogue to play at startup, press engine 5-1, and in the lower left hand corner there's an on-off icon. Press and hold that icon as I'm about to do now and you'll get this dialogue.
Dispatcher here, do you copy? Over. I read you. Over. Please start up and stand by. Roger that. Ready to move. Out.
For demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and turn the volume down just a bit so I don't have to scream over top of this locomotive. Okay, give you a shot of the whistle. This is using a legacy remote. You have the quillable whistle. I'll show you all 3 levels. The bell. Okay, now the smoke unit. I'm going to go ahead and press aux 1 and the smoke on icon 3 times to get the smoke high. When you turn the smoke unit on, you're actually turning on the auxiliary smoke unit for the smoking whistle as well as the main smoke unit. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that whistle again and you'll see that whistle steam effect come out of the boiler. Okay, by doing that we didn't see any smoke come out. That's okay. That means that we have a meniscus blocking the hole that the smoke comes out of. So we can blow down the boiler, the hole in the boiler, to try and break that meniscus here. Typically what you'll have to do is give a puff of air just out of your mouth, right down that stack and also down this stack. So if you'll give me just a second, I'll do that now. You can see how that cleared the stack. We replace this cover and we'll do it one more time. Getting that lined up is a bit of a pain. Okay, so here we go with the whistle. So, Secondary smoke unit, got to make sure you put fluid in there. When you turn the smoke unit on from the remote, it turns both smoke units on. It's important to note that when you don't blow the whistle, the element inside the smoke unit will actually start to cool off. So when you do begin blowing the whistle again, it'll take a few seconds for the smoke to get up to full power. Okay, let's go ahead and get the locomotive rolling. I'm going to use the railroad speed steps and get it to roll speed. This is the very first speed step that this locomotive will obtain with the speed control system on. Okay, so this locomotive also has crew talk and tower comm. I'm going to go ahead and play that for you now as it's running.
Water's full. Engines at restricted speed. Out.
Tower comm.
Dispatcher here. All clear inbound. Over. Thank you, sir. Approaching now. Out.
Okay, we do have a rear coil coupler, which can be fired using the R coupler key on the remote. Get the sound effect out of the tender. And go ahead and stop the locomotive. Put it in reverse. You'll notice that when the locomotive comes to a complete stop, the cab light will turn on. Change direction. When I change direction, my rear headlight turns on. Just like every other legacy locomotive, this engine has preset railroad speeds. And go ahead and take us to slow speed.
Dispatcher here. Please go to slow speed. Over. Yes, sir. Increasing the slow speed. Out.
Go ahead and apply the brakes. You can hear the squealing brake sounds. Okay, and we're going to change direction one more time. This locomotive is equipped with sequence mode. Sequence mode is effectively a series of pre-recorded dialogues and actions based upon throttle settings. To access sequence mode, all you do is hold down the straight arrow key, or the aux1 key as we call it at Lionel. Press and hold aux1 for 3 seconds. The 2 bells and a whistle will confirm that you're now in sequence control mode. I'm going to go ahead and turn this locomotive to the first speed step. The locomotive will not begin moving.
I have a clear signal. Cleared outbound. Over. Acknowledged. Out.
What it does do is it gives me 2 whistles, spools up, gives me tower comm, tells me I'm ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and turn it to speed step 2. The locomotive will begin moving. It'll turn on the bell, and everything else is all based off of throttle responses.
Dispatcher, we're moving. Over. Acknowledged. Have a good run. Out.
The bell will stay on until you exceed speed step 23. You also have manual control over the whistle, the bell, tower comm, crew talk, all of the sound functions you have manual control over while you're in sequence mode. But this is just something that's pre-recorded, loaded into the locomotive, makes running the engine in a club atmosphere on your home layout a little bit more of a fun experience. So I'm just going to go ahead and run up through a couple of speed steps so you can see what actually happens, how the bell turns off, etc. I just reached speed step 24. As the locomotive's running, it will randomly give you a grade crossing sequence of 2 longs, a short, and a long whistle blast. If you make any drastic changes in speed, sometimes you'll get the whistle. based off of the throttle that I'm giving it. So I'm going to go ahead and slow the engine down and bring it to a stop. Once I get to speed step 23, the bell turns on automatically. I'm going to go ahead and blow the whistle. And finally stop the locomotive.
That was a good run. In position. Over. Copy that. Out.
Okay, so that's just an example of some of the sounds that you can get with sequence mode. To get out of sequence mode, it's very simple. You simply press aux1 or the straight arrow key and the R icon on the touchpad. Get a whistle to confirm that you've exited it, and you're done. Earlier when we talked about loading the module, I told you about the increase and decrease in the labor of the chuffing. So what I'd like to do is get the engine running and show you how that directly affects the sound system. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the speed bar, and I'm going to start banging on the arrow, the EFX or effects up arrow, so you can hear the increase in the intensity of the labor and chuff. That's at maximum right there. I can also bring that down manually using the effects down arrow. And that's the lowest effects that you can get out of that steam cylinder chuffing. So bring the engine to a stop. Go through the shutdown sequence. I'm going to use the circle icon on the touchpad.
Let's try the register book. Out.
And that completes the demonstration video for the new Legacy Scale Santa Fe 484 Northerns. These locomotives are at your dealer now. These are uncatalogued locomotives, meaning they did not appear in the 2011 Signature 1 or Signature 2 catalogs. They're available only on a separate flyer. They are in limited quantities, and they are at your dealer now. Thank you.